Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today we're going to be looking at Sensu from Brutus Penny. The folding fan, or Sensu in Japanese culture, symbolizes artistry, tradition, and tactical ingenuity. Beyond its practical use, it's a vessel for profound narratives, weaving through theaters, festivals, and even historical battles. One such example came in the Battle of Kawanakajima, where the folding fan played a bit of an unexpected role. Crafted into a strategic communication tool, messages were written onto folding fans so they could be handed covertly to their intended target. And they were instrumental in guiding Takeda Shingen's forces in their clash with Uesugi Kenshin. This historical anecdote captures the dual nature of the folding fan in Japanese culture, both a canvas for artistic expression and a practical tool at the same time. Beyond the battlefield, the fan gracefully dances through traditional theaters like No and Kabuki, telling stories with every flutter. In festivals and ceremonies, it takes center stage, adorned with intricate designs reflecting the cultural richness of the moment. The folding fan, in its poised elegance, is a silent storyteller in Japan's cultural heritage, its significance stretching beyond practicality, resonating through the centuries as an emblem of creativity, resilience, and the artful interplay between form and function. Brutus Penny chose to use this icon of Japanese culture as the centerpiece and inspiration for his second deck, Sensu. Now, if you've seen his other decks like Cultura Animalis or Nazo Nazo, you know that Jack is truly second to none when it comes to weaving an inspired tale through the canvas of some of the most intricate and thoughtful designs that any creator anywhere is putting together. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his current campaign, live now on Kickstarter. Tales of Mischief is well funded already, and yet another example of his stunningly creative designs. So check that one out if you like what you see with Sensu, or if, like me, you're a fan of his work, no pun intended. But let's dive into Sensu first, taking a look at the two main decks of the campaign. This one is Fuyu no Sensu, which means winter fan, and then we have Haru no Sensu, spring fan. We'll look at both of them, but let's start off with Fuyu no Sensu. All right, so it comes with this very complex tuck box construction or contraption here. And the first bit you'll see is bound with this. This is what I believe is called a miyuhiki cord. These cords were often used to wrap nice presents and things like that. And you can pull this cord off and it holds in place this little cloth bundle here. As you unwrap this green cloth, by the way, the green cloth, you'll see different colors on different versions of this deck. But as you unwrap it, you're greeted with this. This is called a byobu screen, or at least a miniature version of one. These screens would often be used as things like room dividers or something like that. And this one, this miniature version though, made by Japanese artisans, has some really cool artwork on it. One side with a fairly simple green pattern here, and then the other side featuring some of the artwork from the court cards. It's a cool little piece of Japanese culture, yet another one to feature within the deck. I think just a really nice addition to kind of up the unique factor of the deck. But then on to the main deck, and this tuck box as well comes in a two-piece construction. First piece is this outer sleeve done on ivory paper with really nice, beautiful blind embossing. You can see in the light that little bit of embossing in the background. And then these really delicate cutouts all the way through. Super tiny, intricate cuts. You get the large spade pip in the center, and then the finer ones all the way around, giving you hints of detail of the scene and revealing bits of that foil background. You can see the foil on the main tuck box kind of peeking its way through, but the ivory colored sleeve just has really distinct and unique cutouts, giving just the slightest hint of the design inside. On the back side, you'll see one of the cutouts here makes the Brutus Penny logo, those Japanese characters there. And then you can slide this right off to get to the main deck inside. And that relatively plain white exterior gives way to an explosion of color inside. And the tuck box inside is classic Jack. He does super detailed artwork, usually filling every inch of the canvas, and this one, no exception. The bright and yet kind of still muted colors, the reds, yellows, and oranges, are paired with a really nice blue foil evocative of that winter theme. Beautiful scene that extends all the way around. Definitely a nature-inspired scene. You'll see the animals like the birds here, flowers and leaves, and lots of other details that just pop out as you stare at the deck more and more. Beautiful look to it overall. Love that design wrapping onto all sides of the tuck box. Only piece covered up is with this die cut tuck seal, fittingly done in the style of a Japanese folding fan, and then numbered with the edition size of the deck, 1000. Design and the foil work continues on the inner flaps, including this big oversized main flap, and then the smaller, more classic inner flaps as well. Interior of the deck has some printing, no foil on this one, instead going with that pale blue ink to match with the other colors, but still a nice vibrant look to the inside of the tuck box. Overall, beautiful, unique, distinctive tuck box, especially when paired with that ivory colored tuck sleeve. But let's get into the main cards themselves. And we'll start with the back design. Here it is. So this is the same artwork that we saw on the tuck box, but this time no foils. This one's done with metallic inks instead. So all the blue you see here is metallic. Beautiful scene overall. That borderless back design really helps it to look fantastic in fans as well. And of course, little bits of that nature scene peeking their way all the way through. You'll see, of course, the birds and the flowers, but even other little hints like the tentacles up here in the corner, or these, I don't know, it looks almost like a wing there extended on the side as well. Overall, just a beautiful back design. I love the blue. I think it definitely kind of brings in those winter vibes nicely. And then we get on to the faces of the cards. And we'll start off by checking out the two jokers. And these are yet another tie into Japanese culture. So these jokers are inspired by Hanafuda decks, the classic game cards of Japan. They're usually done on smaller decks. I've actually got a couple of cards from a Hanafuda deck here. Smaller cards than usual, and they're done on really thick plastic. They feature a variety of designs, but two of the classic cards are brought to life as the two jokers in Sensu. So the first one here is inspired by this card. This is the boar card, the boar and bush clover card. And then that one's given Jack's classic intricate style and brought to life as the first of the two jokers. You see the boar there with the cat mask strapped to it, and then surrounded fittingly with the bush clover. And the second of the two jokers is also inspired by another Hanafuda card, this time by the deer with the Japanese maple. And so you can see Jack's version here on the left. Very cool inspiration. And again, just going back to the depths of Japanese culture to give us yet another interesting look in the deck overall. So there's your two jokers. The other two extra cards are, I guess you call them ad cards. You could use them as extra jokers. The first one features the fox trudging through the snow, and then some ad copy there for Sensu, Jack Brutus Penny, and then mentions these are printed by Expert Playing Card Company. And then love this second one, just features that same fox, this time leaping through the snowy landscape. So there's your two jokers. The four aces. So the ace of spades, definitely the power ace, features a design background that's very similar to what we saw in the back design of the cards, but then features negative space to give you the spade pips. So you get the large spade pip in the center, and then the smaller spade pips in the corners. Other than that, no indices on these. So, kind of in the style of Hanafuda cards, which don't include indices in the corner, and more use the artwork to differentiate from one card to the other. He kind of went with that to some degree on some of these cards. So there's your ace of spades. The other three aces, interestingly, go with the stark white background, instead choosing to let those pips stand out a little bit more. So we went negative space on the ace of spades, but the other three feature their own lined, almost like a stained glass effect, with a peek into Jack's artwork in the middle of each one of the pips. So you get a blue outline for the diamond, green for the club, and then red for the heart. A little tiny pip in the corner as well. Interesting choice to go with the stark white background. Definitely stands out against that full explosion of color you see everywhere else in the deck. All right, and now we get to the number cards. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to spend some time here because this is truly one of the highlights of the deck. Not usually something you'd say, but these number cards are fascinating. So it starts out with this, just the basic layout already is interesting. So you'll see bits of artwork in the corner, and then the card itself almost cut out in the center, kind of placed in an offset here. And there's a very specific reason for that we'll talk about in a second. But looking here in the central card, you get the same sort of color palettes, the white background with the custom pips, and then you'll see the plants growing through the middle. Those plants are going to be inspired by one of the four seasons. So one of the four seasons for each one of the suits. So the spades here are representative of winter. And so we have the winterberry fruits growing there in the center. And then you'll see more spade pips and more winterberries that just kind of sprout out of the center as you get to the higher value cards. Beautiful look to it overall. Great way to bring in the season as well. But that's not the main secret of these number cards. The main secret is hidden in the name of the deck, Sensu or Fan. And so what you want to do, and you can use these outlines as sort of the guide to do so, you're going to want to fan these cards in number order. And as you do so, maybe you can already see what's happening here. You'll see a scene that starts to emerge in the background. The cards themselves make an all new bit of artwork when arranged into a fan, as the name of the deck would suggest. And this particular one is a winter scene of Mount Fuji in the sunset in the background. Beautiful little details like the pagoda back here, or the Shinto gate. Little details all the way through. But I love the creativity of incorporating the artwork of the edges here into its own fan design. Unique way to kind of go after the theme. And each one of the suits is going to have an entirely different bit of artwork to celebrate. So as you go here to the diamonds here, so the diamond suit is now going to be inspired by the Japanese maple. So the plants in the middle there are the maple leaves. And then this one you can fan as well. And I'm going to try to fan through these quickly just so you can quickly see the artwork on each one of them, but definitely worth picking up and playing with for yourself. And so the scene here in the middle, we're going to go after autumn, and this is going to be a festival in the middle of autumn. So you get the Himeji castle there in the front, and then the lanterns, and then the fireworks in the background as they celebrate the festival of the season. Beautiful flowing maple leaves all the way through, and yet another scene. And I won't go into every single one of these because I want to leave you something to play around with as you go through the cards for yourself, because I think this is definitely a deck worth picking up and worth opening. But each one of the suits is going to feature its own as you fan them out. So the clubs here, this is for summer. You get the blooming flowers and even little dragonflies there in the corner. And of course, you can see another scene. Just a hint, this one, you can see the waves there is actually inspired by the Great Wave off Kanagawa, that famous woodblock print. And then finally you get into the hearts, and the hearts represent spring. And so of course, what else would you think of with Japan in spring but the cherry blossoms? And then the fan design on this one is another cherry blossom festival inspired design that's created with the fan as well. Now, there is yet another way to appreciate the fans on these, and that's with looking at the cards a different way. So in this one, I'm going to pull out the 4 nines in the deck. So let's go to the 9 of spades, 9 of diamonds, 9 of clubs, and the 9 of hearts. So we're going to instead pull out 4 cards here and see what else we can do with this truly unique deck. So for this one, we're going to turn it over and we're going to fan it this way. So now you can not only take the suits in order, but you can also fan the number cards in their own order. And in this one, you'll see little details start to emerge over here. And in this particular one, if you fan the 9s, you'll see the 9-tailed fox spirit hinted at here in the corner, and then a drum over here. And this is a classic kind of toy drum that's used by children. It's called a den den daiko. And so you can fan the decks with the numbers on one side to give you one design, and then on the other side, use the suits in order to give you its own unique design. It's such a cool way, so many different ways to enjoy the deck, hopefully giving you a hint, but you can do that with every one of the numbers. And so the number side is going to represent different mythological creatures, whereas the suit side is going to represent a scene from Japanese culture. You know, for me, just next level sort of creativity. And then we finally get into the quartz. And of course, we'll get a little bit more fanning to go on these, but the quartz, an explosion of color, almost hard to read. In fact, these don't have any indices on them at all. No indices in the center, in the corners, just the full color artwork featuring different animals, in particular cats as you go through these. So you'll see kind of anthropomorphic cats here in the middle, one of them kind of wearing the fedora or some kind of hat there. And by the way, these as well do have their own. So every 3 of the cards you can take and build into their own fan that gives you even a little bit more depth and life to the design. But very cool touches to allow the fans as well on this on the court cards. So now we're up to 3 different ways that you can fan each deck. You can fan the court cards to create their own design. You can fan the numbers, each one of the 4 sets of numbers, or you can fan the suits across each one. Just Such a unique plethora of ways to really celebrate the theme on these. And of course, fantastic artwork all the way through. So hopefully enough time, sort of suffering with my fumbling with fans there, but definitely a deck worth picking up. And if you do pick this one up, absolutely spend some time playing around with the fans. But that's just one version of the deck. So we got a chance to look at the winter fan. Let's take a quick look though at the spring fan, because there are a few differences on this one. So the spring fan does do a bit of a color change. So now instead of that blue foil, we get some pink foil, evocative of those cherry blossoms that are common in the spring. Same design on the outer sleeve on this one, but you don't get the attached Byobu screen. So the spring fan is just going to come plain with no attachment on it. And I say plain lightly because that design is still absolutely beautiful. Same artwork on the tuck box, but this time accented with the pink foil. Slight changes to the tuck seal as well to give it the pink accents. This one is also a 1,000 deck run. And then as you pull the cards out, again, you'll see a lot of it is the color switch to the pink cards. So here now, instead of the blue metallics, we have pink metallics accenting this one. I think the pinks personally look even better than the blue. I think that looks fantastic in its own right. Artwork on the number cards is going to be basically the same that we saw before. You'll see little bits of changes, but overall not too much. But some beautiful pinks that are accented in there as well, and still some beautiful cards. Now there is one change to the court cards. The court cards in the spring fan actually become, I guess I would say, a little bit more readable by including the index and the pip here in the center of the card. So not in the corner like you classically see, but kind of a compromise putting them there in the center. So you do get a little bit better readability of the cards compared to the winter fan deck. But overall, a beautiful deck in its own right. A lot of the same artwork, like I said, as you'll see through it, but some color changes to give it its own life as its own distinctive deck in the series. And that is the pair of decks, so winter and spring fan. Overall, a beautiful achievement, a truly unique and distinctive deck, and one that will stand out as a conversation piece for anybody. Jack's decks are ones that you can't just enjoy, flip through one time and get everything for them. Every time you pick these decks up, I promise you're going to pick up something new, find something interesting, give yourself something cool to enjoy as you look through it. Very highly recommend these. And like I said up the top, if you haven't already checked out his newest campaign, Tales of Mischief is funding on Kickstarter now. So you're going to want to check that one out as well. Jack's art has kind of brought him up as one of my favorite designers in the world. I'll be a backer of any of his artwork and suggest you consider the same. Go check it out, see what you think of it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this look at Sensu from Jack Brutus Penny. That's all for me for now. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more deck reviews, more unboxings. Let me know what else you want to see, and I'll see you for the next one.